So you want to be a deer hunter. Hi, my name is Roy Canterbury. I'm going to be your host today on Archery Talk 101. And we're going to talk about beginners starting out in deer hunting. What do you need to look at? What do you need to think about? And just how do you enjoy the sport? So start off with whitetail deer hunting is one of the most popular hunting genres in the world. Every year, more and more enthusiasts pick up the sport of archery. And some go into hunting and some just pick up the sport of archery. So for the first time whitetail deer hunter, it can be a rather difficult thing to do. That is why a few tips and tricks to get you started with decent results is what we'll cover today. Now, first you want to do is check your equipment before going out to the stand. Not later when a buck walks out to find out your equipment needs some work. One of the things you want to do is you want to check your sight if you're using one. If you're not using a sight, then you don't have to worry about the sight. But if you're using one, you need to check it, make sure that your pins are okay. They're not broke. If they're fiber optic pins, you want to make sure that the fiber is still attached. If you have a light on your sight, for seeing in that low light condition, sometimes when you're in a forest in the middle of the day, it's dark enough, it's hard to see your pins because the sun doesn't shine through. So you want to turn on your light on your pins if you have one and check it, make sure it works, and then make sure you turn it off so it's battery's not dead when you get to the tree stand. And then next thing to do is check your arrows. If you're going out deer hunting, you have to have broadheads on there. Make sure that you have the arrows with broadheads on. Make sure you don't grab the wrong case that have field tips because you're not going to be able to hunt with those. So check those. Make sure that they're sharp. There's ways you can check to make sure that they're sharp. One good way is take a rubber band and expand it between your fingers and then just lay it on there, and then it should cut it or slightly move it across it, and it should cut the rubber band, not roll it. Then it's not sharp enough. So you want to make sure that they are sharp. Now, put an arrow in your bow. If you're at home or whatever, you want to draw your bow back to make sure that everything is still okay. It's always good to take a few shots before you go out just to make sure that you're warmed up, everything is working good. If you can't take a few shots, then when you get to your tree stand, put your broadhead on there and go ahead and draw it back and make sure you have good shooting lanes. Because if you don't have good shooting lanes, you're not going to be able to get to the deer when you come out. There are many other issues to consider. Which one I tell you, be prepared well ahead of time. If you find you're checking your string, you're waxing your string, I'd recommend doing that, the day before you're going out, and put a little light coat of wax on it, rub your fingers up and on the string so that you can feel any problems. If you have any problems, now's the time to know, not when you draw back and you get ready to shoot and your string breaks. So you want to be careful of that. One thing to remember is when you put your bow in a case, do not put the broadheads in there with it, because you can close that case. All it takes is one of those broadheads to touch that string that's under tension, and you're going to cut the string. And, if you don't cut all the way through, you cut a few strands. Next thing you know, you shoot and it breaks on you. So remember, your broadheads have to be covered if they're going to be in your case. Otherwise, they need to be in a separate case. Remember to take it all with you. The last thing you want to do is find out if you have a problem, like I said, with your bow when you're in there drawing back on that buck of a lifetime. Or if you're just, like me, I'm more interested in the meat. So big bucks, you can't eat the antlers. So any deer with a bow is a good one, and you don't want to mess it because you forgot to check everything. So just remember that. Now, when you're going out to hunt, if you're going to hunt over a food plot or a large field, during the late hours of the day, it seems to be, really good time. Early morning is another good time. But don't forget, those are the two best times. But the deer also get up midday and move, around your noon time, 11 to 1, they'll get up and move. I've had places where, first thing in the morning, first couple hours, last couple hours, and then at noontime, they're moving around. They're going to get up, move around. If there's food, it's cold, and there's food available, they're going to get up, move around, and eat midday. So don't forget about that. You don't want to leave at 10:30, and the next thing you know, deer come walking by your tree stand at 11 o'clock because stayed a half hour and hadn't come right by. I've had that happen before. Put up little timers, and next thing you know, yeah, it was just an hour or so after I left is when they come by the next day. So uh, you just want to make sure that you're out there learn the areas. Uh, hunt different times of day to learn when's the best time for your area. Different areas are going to be a little different. If you have trail cameras, you can set up a trail camera. They're there 24/7, so you can see, does that deer come out at nighttime? Is it only at night when it gets to your tree stand? I had one time where the deer seemed to get by my tree stand, come by me just after dark, just when it was, couldn't shoot no more, past hunting time. And then here come the deer. So now I'm stuck in there until they get there. So I decided I'm going to move up trail, get up there. And so I moved up further, and sure enough, they come by, earlier in the day. So you want to figure that out, what time they're going to come by in your area. Now that use of the trail cameras is a good idea, but there is also other problems with doing that. By figuring out the area, you're going to be able to spend the time that's more productive in your tree stand. But it's going to take you a while to learn the area. Now, when you're trying to figure out where the deer are going, remember, deer like to be in heavy cover, but they still want the easiest route possible. They're going to run, if you have a cornfield that's in and the corn is still up, they're going to go between the corn and the trees, because it's easy walking rather than walking through the corn or the trees. If the field is down, they're going to walk right at the edge of the cover or slightly inside the cover. So you just want to learn where they're at. Each area is going to be different. If you have a field full of beans, it's going to be different than a field full of corn. They can bed down in that corn all day long, and you're not going to see them unless you start walking the cornfield. I said they like to hang out at the edges, of a field. They're going to stage at the edge of the field right before dark. You're going to see them either just into the field or just inside the cover. And then once it gets dark, then they go out and they're more relaxed. They'll go out in the field. But at that point, it's past time when you can actually hunt them. So you need to learn where they're staging and how to set up for them. So you want to place your tree stand, to take advantage of these staging areas inside the cover. And that, especially in the evening when you have the deer, are coming out to feed at night. Now, using a deer call, I haven't noticed them scaring them at all. It doesn't really scare them. What you want to do is observe the reactions when you use your call. Be sure to, use a suitable call. Otherwise, they will get, suspicious. Remember, use a call on a deer, it would be looking for the source. So if you set up your tree stand at the edge, it's like you're in the tree right at the edge. There's no trees in front of you, only behind you, and you're calling, and a buck has a clear view of you, and you're using a doe bleat. Let's say that doe bleat is going to make them look towards the call because they're looking for the doe, and especially during the rut time, they're going to look over there and see nothing. But you're right at the edge, and they can pretty good at pinpointing where the sound comes from. So now if you take that same call, that same deer, but you're set up 10, 15 feet into the forest, now you call, he knows the sound is coming from inside. He can't see inside because there's enough cover, more likely to come over and check out the doe that he can hear. Now he has to rely on his ears and not his sight because he can't see inside of there. I once had a spike buck come down a trail, come right up to me, and for some reason it just stopped, and I wasn't going to shoot it anyway, but and it turned around and started walking away. I got several yards away, and I said, I'm going to get my call out. So I got my call out, and I used the call, and I heard him turning, turning off to the right because it come down over my left side because I'm actually right-handed, so I set up for left-handed shot off my left side. So I heard him turn to my right. I can hear him walking through the trees. And so then I called again. Then I heard him turn. Now he's coming down towards me again. And that buck walked past my tree stand on the other side. So I got him to turn around just by using a call. Now I wasn't going to shoot him because he was too small. But little I know, just a few minutes later, a bigger buck comes walking in behind me where I didn't set up any shooting lanes. And of course, it's behind me. So I wasn't able to shoot it because I didn't have any shooting lanes behind me, and shooting behind you on a tree can be a little bit difficult. So I didn't get shot, but that's what this other deer come in based on the sound because they could hear it and come to it. And I wasn't even focused on that other deer. I was focused on the little one to see what it would do, learn how the deer react to the call. Now, this was a young buck, but a bigger one still responded to that same call. So one thing to remember is if they're within hearing range, which my example showed, they will either ignore it, come to it, or run away. Now, that said, the third option, I have yet to see one run away when I use a call. Either they ignore it, which happens a lot, or they come to it, they respond to it. I've seen deer out in a field and you call and they just kind of like, it's almost like they're deaf. They don't hear you, but they hear it because, their hearing is really good. I remember one time when I was out hunting during the rut. In this area, sometimes you have duck hunters come out there, is by a creek and or by a river, and they'll get out there. And I know when I've been out duck hunting and nothing's flying, I get the call. I call on it just because it's not going to hurt anything. Because if the ducks don't hear it, they're not going to hear it. They do hear it, but come in. And I just thought a duck hunter was just messing around with his call, like sometimes I do sometimes. And I have several calls, so they all sound different, and you kind of play with them, see what kind of sounds you can make out of them. Then I saw two does, and I saw where the sound was coming from. I had a buck grunt on me, so I used the call, and it didn't even make a good call. It was kind of, you kind of get a little excited, and it just kind of grunted, kind of weird. And next thing you know, one of the does, the one not making the sound, come running straight to my tree stand, hit my pole rope, and I'm looking through my tree stand at this deer. And it's looking around for this buck that she heard. She knew it come from there, but she didn't know where exactly. Never did look up. And I was just walking around and trying to figure out where this buck was. And then the other doe that had been making this sound just kept walking away. And it was interesting. And that was when here in Nebraska, you only had 2 tags. And so that's all you could get was 2. And I'd already gotten a doe, and this was still November, and our season goes to the end of December. So at that point, I kind of start hunting bucks only until I get to December. Then I'll fill my tag. And this is early enough that I wanted to just shoot a buck. I didn't need the meat for the freezer because at that time we didn't go through a lot of meat every year. One or 2 deers was plenty for a year. Now, since we figured out how to cook it and fix it, then we go through a little bit more. But, that was interesting that doe come running right to where the sound was. Never did look up. I just kind of called once, and that worked really good. So the best advice possible is to hunt whenever you can. That experience is something that you're going to be able to use the next time you go out. Those couple of calling experiences, let me know how the deer are responding in the area, and know when to go by going out there hunting. I know when the deer are going here. There was one area I was out there that come first thing in the morning, and it seems like about 11 or 12 o'clock every day, a deer come down the trail. Yeah, that's at noon. And then, of course, evening was another good time. Now, let's say you're hunting a new hunting area. When you go out there, the best way to learn a new area is set up a stand, each day for a short period of time. If you can put up multiple stands, that's good because you can set them up, hunt different ones, different areas. This way, you're going to learn the deer movement more efficiently and quicker. The other option is to put up trail cameras, but you're going to have to put up quite a few trail cameras depending on the area that you're hunting. Uh, I prefer, when I'm hunting out of a tree stand, because a little bit more visibility. You can see more than a trail camera can, because the trail camera is only going to cover a certain view and a certain distance out in front of it, because it won't trip the camera if it's not within the range, so the 50 feet or less. Well, if I'm sitting in a tree stand, I can see that 50 feet, I can see the 100 feet, depending on where you're at, the trees you're in. I can see in a different angle. So, maybe the trail, I missed the trail. I'm pointing north, and northeast is where the trailers are coming down. The camera doesn't see it. I can see it sitting on a tree stand. So there's something to be said for that. And you can see a lot of things in a tree stand all cameled up that you wouldn't see normally. That's one of the things of being outside, is you can see all those things that you don't normally get to see otherwise. Now, let's say you are out there, and when you're hunting the new area, if it's in hunting season, then you're going to have your bow with you. And let's say you set up and you've picked the perfect spot and this deer comes by. Now, after you shoot it, you don't want to jump up right away and start tracking the deer. It takes time for that deer to take his last breath. Uh, you you can wait, well, depending on how good your shot is. If you didn't make a really good shot, it takes a little bit longer time. And if you make a fairly, bad shot, which we've all done, any bow hunter's been out there says they've never made a bad shot, is either never taken a shot or is lying to you, because, we've all made a bad shot at a time. We don't like to do it. We try not to do it. We do everything we can to not do it, but you want to wait. If you shoot it in the evening, you may have to just come back the next morning, wait overnight. Now, that all depends on temperature. If you're in an area where it's hot, maybe it's in the 80s and it's only going to get in the 70s at night, which we can have here at the first part of our season in September. We can still have fairly high temperatures at night, because our season starts in September, and we don't start getting really cold till October, November timeframe. So that depends on how long you can wait. If it's something where it's not going to get cool out, like in refrigerator temperature, 40s or below, your meat may not be good if you wait till the next day, especially if you wait till the next night. That's like way too long. So you may have to wait, an hour or 2 hours, and then go start tracking it later. Now, one thing that you always want to do is let people know where you're at. Now, if you're out and you do get something at night and you can't wait till the next morning, because of the temperature's too high, or you actually have to work the next day, let somebody know that, say, hey, I'm tracking a deer, I'm going to be late. That way they don't worry about the fact that you're 3 hours past hunting time is over and still not home. So just pay attention to the temperature, what your time is. Don't let it go too long. After all, we don't want to waste the animal. It doesn't completely go to waste, but we don't get to eat it. The animals will decay, and the bugs will get to it. So something will eat it. It's just that's the waste. You're going to shoot the animal, you need to do everything you can to recover it. Just remember, as the temperatures go up at night, you have less time to get the field dress, the animal, and to get it back. So as the temperatures get colder, now you have a little bit more time. Now, I like hunting in a tree stand over a blind. I've used both. There's reasons, why I like the tree stand. You can see more of what's going on. I can see 360 degrees, and I can see off at whatever distance. In a blind, you're a little bit more limited. But we can go into that in another topic later, get in more details of the advantages, disadvantages of a tree stand versus a ground blind. versus no blind, just taking normal cover. That can be a whole topic just in itself. Now let's talk about your sight. Uh, there are a couple different ideas on sights. Um, some will only like to use a single pin, where you're just going to aim high or aim a little bit low, depending on where you're at. Uh, I set up most of my shots to be 20 yards or less. My longest shot was 40 yards, and my closest shot was probably about, I don't know, 3-4 feet. I use a 5-pin sight. I've been using it for over 40 years. Uh, I've forgot to pick a pin more than I picked the wrong pin. Because if you're not thinking about picking a pin, which I have done, completely missed because I forgot to aim, more than I picked the wrong pin. Out to about 25 yards maybe, your 20-yard pin is just fine. Because you're not going to aim real high or real low. Put it there, right there on the lungs, and if it's a little high, a little low, no big deal. So when you start getting really close, that's when you have to start thinking about where you're going to be aiming. So which type of sight is best for you? That's the question that would be work best if you get with your coach. If you don't have a coach, coaches can help you get into your best form the quickest. If you're having troubles with something, they're going to be able to help you go through and figure out where you need to improve, where you're doing what you're doing right. So get with a coach. There's always a good advantage to having a coach. Remember, all athletes have coaches. Even your top performing athletes, they all have a coach, because it's hard to see what you're doing. You have to be able to see what you're doing and let somebody else look at it. Now remember, not everybody's a coach, but everybody has an opinion. So that's where you need to find somebody that you like that's going to help you coach. Now, that coach is going to shorten all that time to be that best archer you can be. That's kind of my tips for the new archer trying to go bow hunting. There's a lot of things that you can consider. Get with somebody else that's been hunting for a while is another good way to go. Go with them, see if they'll take you out hunting and teach you the ropes. The hard way to do it is doing it yourself. When I first started, there was nobody to help me through anything. I didn't have anybody to say, here's what you need to do. I started off with, if I seen tracks on the ground, it was a good day, because I knew there was deer there. And then after a while, then okay, if I seen a deer, even if it was running a mile away, now that was a good day for me, because I actually seen a deer. And then it got down to where, as you learn more and more, you figure out some of the patterns, what to do, how to look for them. And then, if I seen them, I would see them every day. I would see a deer, maybe not close enough. And then finally you get where now you have a good chance of having a deer come walking by your stand. And I remember the first deer I actually had was close enough to shoot. I hadn't been doing it very long, and I didn't think I had a shot for it, but I actually did have a shot, but just didn't know that was, a shot I could take. And the distance wasn't a problem. I could hit the target. That wasn't what I was worried about. It's like, I didn't think I had the right shot for it. So I passed rather than taking a shot I didn't think was good. So remember, if you want more information, there's a couple sources that I have available to you. One is the Archery Talk 101 Facebook group. I'll leave a link in the description below on how you can get in there and join that group. We offer a lot of advice. You can even upload a video of you shooting, and somebody with 25 years or more experience can take a look at that video and give you some pointers. But go ahead and join the group for that. The other way is go out to archertalk101.com. That website, I have other information. I'll post information out there. If there's a product that I review, I'll review the product out there. I'll put a link into them. If there's a link, sometimes they're affiliate links, sometimes it just links into where you can get them. So I'll talk about different items there. A lot of good advice there, information on that website. The other thing, if you really want to take your archery skills to the next level, I offer a free 15-minute consultation call to see if coaching might be for you. We can go through that. I'll leave a link to the form for the application to apply for that 15-minute free call. Just fill that form out, and then I'll know a little bit more about where you're at, what I can do, and how I can help you. And then we'll get on a call and see if coaching might happen to be for you. Because I do have an online archery coaching program where we go through and look at your form and review them, and we get onto a Zoom call where we can actually see one-on-one. I can watch you shooting and make any adjustments we have to there doing that live. I've been doing that for a while, and it works really good because we can do this sitting at our own location. We don't have to worry about traveling anywhere. We can look at this information, and then you also get a recording of the call when we do have on our coaching call on our Zoom. So then you can play it back as many times as you want. So remember that you need to fill out that form below to get the 15-minute free consultation call. Once again, my name is Roy Canterbury, and I've been your host today on Archer Talk 101.